You know, watching the rise and fall and, well, mediocre stance that both Bernie Sanders and AOC have found themselves on, it is quite clear to me that both these individuals cannot be taken seriously. They got to be pushed aside, cast aside. They are fools and clowns all around. And once again, Bernie is asking you for money. Now, it's clear over the weekend, which I find very suspicious after the Workers' Summit live stream that was hosted by Do Dissidents and a few others, that Bernie Sanders decided to do his own live stream as well, as though as to sheepdog and herd all the people back into the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party has nothing to stand for. Case in point right here, Bernie asking you, once again, you, for more money. Take it away, Bernie. What do you want again?
I am once again asking for your financial support. I don't have to tell anybody that we're living in dangerous and unprecedented times. We are fighting now against the oligarchs, Elon Musk and the others, who are essentially running the government, the richest people in the world. We're taking on Trump's movement toward authoritarianism, putting more and more power into his own hands, undermining the Congress, challenging the courts, not knowing what the Constitution is about. We are right now engaged in a major struggle to make sure that the Congress does not pass legislation which gives massive tax breaks to billionaires and then cuts Medicaid, education, and programs that working families desperately need. I am going to be running around this country along with others to rally the American people, to continue the fight for justice, to stand up to Trump and the authoritarianism that we are seeing. To be successful, we're going to need your help. So please, if you can send $27 or anything that you could afford, we'd much appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yes. So once again, I'm hearing people say, "Hey, play Curb Your Enthusiasm music." As much as I would love to, don't want to get a copyright strike or anything of that nature. Don't don't want to do anything to upset the all-seeing eye of the tech and corporate overlords, right? But what's upsetting to me is that now Bernie has found the courage and the lion strength to go on top of the mountain and roar for his legions, but yet his legion is not there. You see, the opportunity has passed you, Bernie. You had 8 years to do something. In 2016, in the aftermath of what happened at the Democratic primary, Bernie Sanders chose to let the DNC screw him and his supporters over. Think about all the dollars, money, time, resources, energy that people put into the 2016 Bernie Sanders campaign during the Democratic primary, all leading up to the eventful showdown or uneventful showdown in Philadelphia. Both Daniel and I were there when we covered that event. And you know what Daniel and I did when we were interviewing all those volunteers and supporters? We kept on hearing the same story from delegates, supporters, volunteers, diehard Bernie Sanders supporters of the hostility that they dealt with from the Bernie Sanders, not from the Bernie Sanders, but from the Democrats. All the stories were adding up. It shocked both me and Daniel a lot. And I do mean a lot because there were stories of harassment, abuse, threatening phone calls, suspicious emails, or knocks at the door. That whole primary in Philadelphia was very suspicious. And you would think, I think we all thought, all of us thought, no matter where we were at the time, whether you were in Philly or watching the whole events unfold before your eyes in 2016, that, well, Bernie Sanders was going to somehow stand up, maybe form a third party. Hell, Jimmy Dore was screaming about it. Shout out to Jimmy Dore, who kept on saying that the Democrats were screwing over Bernie Sanders. And yet, he did nothing. And, for a time, all of us thought, we here at Hard Lens Media, all of us thought that maybe Bernie Sanders would be ready in 2020. And, well, we were proven wrong. I had high hopes for Bernie, and I have to carry that L for the rest of my life. But once again, and I do mean once again, he let the Democrats walk all over him with his good friend, Joe Biden. His good friend, Joe Biden, who's been on the wrong side of history. And 4 years, boy, Bernie Sanders was just carrying water for the Democrats, getting nothing from the Democrats. And then as soon as Biden threw his hat in the ring, like a bat out of hell, Bernie Sanders endorses his good friend for the 2024 election cycle. But now that Biden is gone, the Democrats have lost their majority in the Senate and the House. Oh, it's time to face off against Trump and Elon Musk. And to be fair, yes, there must be criticism towards Donald Trump's administration and Elon Musk. We are in some very uncertain times, and inflation is still the number one concern. A lot to be said about the future of free speech, but boy, Bernie, you're asking people for money when now, with inflation and egg prices still high, everything's still high. Good luck with getting that donation money. Good luck in asking for that. And while, yes, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are front card people, yes, and they are. They are. And it's important to be critical of them. Everyone is surprised by the actions that Trump and Elon are doing, but yet, because they're so high profile, they're being turned into Saturday morning cartoons by the remnants of the vote blue, no matter who infrastructure. And no one's taking them seriously anymore. No one has the time, energy, or effort to even risk their necks or even risk their money and their time. Time and money are very important to people now, extremely important, more so than I think ever in this country's history because of the instability that was created, especially under the Biden Harris administration. It's easy to go after Elon, but would AOC and Bernie still have the same passion and fire if Kamala Harris got in? Because Kamala Harris got $2 billion worth of donations from a lot of influential people. And if you don't think that those billionaires would be asking to do things like how Trump's millionaire or billionaire donors are asking him, you're living in a deluded reality.
Elon Musk is not going after efficiency. He's not going after making these things better for people. He's trying to steal Medicaid so that he can enrich himself. He's trying to gut everything that is good in America for his own private profit. We have an obligation to resist kings.
Don't resist kings. Stay true to kings. Gentlemen, every day you go outside, you are a king. Remember that. When you're going to work, you're a king. Always. Young and old, gentlemen, stay kings as you should be.
We have an obligation to resist oligarchs. We will work in the streets, in the courts. We can overwhelm them. We outnumber them. Understand our power in this moment. Don't give up our power. Don't shy away from our power. Every small action matters. There's not one act that is going to save all of us. It is going to be the constant pressure and commitment to saving our democracy. They cannot withstand the constant, consistent pressure. They will crumble under it. Every day, our job is to wake up and say, what can I do today? And so when they try to come in, make them show a document. Make them assert their authority. Ask them, who are you? Who are you? Because at the end of the day, they're no one. And he thinks he's got a bank account with a lot of zeros in it, that it makes him some kind of super citizen. I don't think so. This is America. We will resist. We will prevail. We outnumber them. They cannot sustain, and we cannot give up. America is not for sale.
And see, this is the trap that we talked about on the Post-Opoly show with myself, Russell, Keaton, and Nick when we were talking about the failure of the Democrats. You see, they removed a lot of critical thinkers and individuals who really wanted to challenge the Democrats. You see, the Democrats like AOC and the Squad and Bernie Sanders, they had a large, diverse coalition. But as always, once the Democrats have a position of power, or either that, the players decide how the rules are going to be written down and how things are going to get organized. Well, anyone that doesn't fit the mold or listen to the narrative, they're cast aside. Hardlens Media has seen this. Myself and Daniel did numerous stories about the hypocrisy of the Democrats. RBN and Due Dissidents have done numerous stories about the hypocrisy of the Democrats, and so has Jimmy Dore. One thing I don't think any of us foresaw was just how desperate they would be as soon as they lost on November 5th, 2024. I wasn't expecting corporate media to be hemorrhaging as many viewers as it did, but yet here we are. And corporate media cannot deny that right now the Democrats don't have a leg to stand on. Bernie's asking for money. AOC's calling for resistance. But all I'm seeing is glorified parades, cringe dancing, and Democrats saying that they will fight, fight, fight. And to be clear here, look, Doge has found a lot of inconsistencies. Doge has found a lot of corruption and waste of money. And before AOC or Bernie starts screaming from the rooftop, and that even includes some of these fantastic Republican lawmakers who are acting shocked that there's so much corruption here, they all knew about it. They all knew about the waste. They knew about it in some form or another. Remember these words. There's no such thing as innocence in Washington, D.C., only varying degrees of guilt. They all knew. They all knew. And here's the thing. Corporate media knows that they're losing the narrative. They can't twist it in any form or another. Remember how arrogant and prideful they were, saying that Biden and then later on Kamala Harris had the election in the bag? Yeah, you don't hear them talking that much, do you? I want to play this video here.
Michael, what do you think? What's your take on the most effective route for Democrats right now, particularly elected Democrats?
Well, I think you look at why the elected Democrats, there are fewer of them than elected Republicans. And you go back to message. The Democrats do not have the message and they don't have the messengers. And again, you had...
Don't you like how they said they don't have the messengers? I mean, they still elect the same leadership over and over again, Democrats. I mean, you have for your DNC leader chair a guy who wants good billionaires. Donald Trump and Elon Musk donated money to the Democrats way early on. You know, I mean, what does a good billionaire look like? What is their profile picture?
Bernie Sanders in Omaha yesterday, and he has been a sort of constant messenger on these issues for quite a while. The fact that these issues, the ones that Senator Sanders has been talking about for such a long time, are now appealing to a much more mainstream Democratic, voter, a mainstream Democratic district, that becomes something that they can use. But they need the messengers, and again, like Steve was saying, they have to be out front on this. They can't just sort of wait this out and say, "Oh, we're in the minority. There's nothing we can do." Nobody wants to hear that, right? If your the football team is 1-14, well, in week 16, you don't want to hear them say that, "Oh, we've been losing, we can't win." You want to see what they're going to do to win that second game. And I think that's what people are looking at from Democrats right now. And they need different voices. I mean, the other voices have to step up, especially in the United States Senate. I think Democrats are calling for that now as well.
Isn't that special? Isn't that fantastic? And the thing is, people can be talking about this all they want, all the time. But the real truth is, when you see Bernie asking for money, you got to ignore it. But we do have to talk about it because this is where he's at now. This is his legacy. He's the man who could have fought. AOC is the person that could have raised up the ruckus. And what I want Bernie Sanders and AOC to know is, look, I get it. Washington, D.C. is a cesspool. I bet it's a very frightening place to be in. Chicago's the most corrupt city in the country, but add in Washington, D.C., we're number 2. So that tells me one thing, that D.C. is a cesspool of vile people. All what Bernie Sanders and AOC had to do was stamp their feet, and your legions would have showed up. Show us what to do. We would have been there. I think a lot of people would have stepped up fighting against the corruption. I mean, Trump was able to motivate his base. Trump was able to keep his political organization together. Now, Democrats who said you're a private institution, that you get to decide who gets to be your leader, who gets to get elected into office, all of that, fine. You gave us those words. And you told anyone that if they weren't going to support you, that they were bad and that they didn't need your vote, or that you're going to feel guilty, you should feel shamed, fine. But these are words that a lot of vote blue, no matter who, Democrats, corporate media pundits, anybody or anything who was part of that institution of the vote blue, no matter who sphere, that even includes Bernie and AOC, these are words that you said to potential voters and former supporters. Now live with it. Stop asking us for money or calling for resistance unless you're prepared to really do a fight. Because if you have nothing, then why are we wasting our time? This isn't about giving up, but right now we do have to move on. And that is through citizen ballot initiatives and forming movements and organizations not connected to Washington, D.C. And as a final note, too, it was very odd that Bernie Sanders decided to host a live stream event as soon as Sama Sawant and Jill Stein and Chris Hedges were doing their own event with the Workers' Coalition. Brilliant job. It's very suspicious. It's almost as though you're trying to raise up the false hope that somehow there's going to be a resistance and the Democrats are going to be lions. We fell for this trap before. 8 years of incompetency, Democrats. If you don't think anyone's not paying attention, what's wrong with you?
If you fool me once, it's because I didn't think a guard was needed. If you fool me twice, it's because I didn't learn the lesson, so it bears repeating. If you try the same play 3 times running, it's because you know what's coming, and you didn't come to lead, you came to purposefully be misleading. Democracy is dry. It's been a century bleeding. The husk is gaping open to the sky, out in the field where all the sheep just keep on circling and worrying and bleeding. They're waiting for the shepherd that they've tried to hide their faith in, but he's so appealing. They'd gladly give their fleece. It's such a freeing feeling that even when he leads them to the ledge and starts to urge them on, they're positively beaming. They were told that they were on their way to save democracy, so even as they plummet, they just gloat. They don't consider screaming. And halfway up the cliff, the shepherd's cozy little mittens wrap around the staff of shattered human hopes on which he's leaning. He shows the gentle grin that used to stir your inner spark, and he says, "Not me, us," as he gestures to the oligarchs. He knows that if he runs, they're going to stop him like a stolen car. And he'll easily surrender because it bought a lot of time for laying mines in all the grassroots. Suddenly, the tiniest of movements gets you blown apart. Suddenly, you're in a play that's set on an election day and voting for the fire, unaware you're playing Joan of Arc. Suddenly, the shepherd pulls the rug and slips a hood across your clueless mug, and everything goes zero dark. I'm gonna warn you once more before it's 2024 and you fuck around and find out who your heroes are. To take a step back from the herd, and you'll learn that you can spot who all the shearers are. If you really want to know the product that they're selling, I can take you where the mirrors are. If you think your voice is finally ready, I can tell you where the lyrics are. I hid them in a box I had to bury neath the cobble when they carpet bombed the promenade and raided all the street bazaars. Now all we've got's the marketplace, and you're too broke to even bother asking what the options for your treatment are. Suddenly, the raw debris of homeless human dignity will find it has 100 teeth for every badge and sweeper's arm. Suddenly, they speak in solidarity and each is armed. Suddenly, the sheep can see the shepherd for his truest form and all pitch in at once to help him buy the farm. And now it's zero dark, and all is calm and peaceful save the distant wail of sirens that approach beside the flames of dawn. Suddenly, the carrot's just a string that's on a stick, and all your movements make you sick because the prize is gone. Now, we could go and flee into the forest low and meek, or we can exercise our right to feast and go and graze on Biden's lawn. Because he's been sowing seeds that seep a toxin out to sap a bit from each of us and keep on leaching decades after Biden's gone. So regardless who they summon out of hell to come and do the job, it will not feel like Biden's gone. But in that time of hopelessness, you cannot trust the shepherd when he once again comes asking you to humor him his siren song. And it's cute that you can innocently, honestly assume that's just a symptom of a system that was wired wrong, and not the standard feature, basic function, primary objective of a mass hypnosis firebomb. You don't need to know the words to cry along. Someday it'll hit you like an officer who pistol whipped their ride along. Broke his jaw and kept his job and kept it moving right along. That voting isn't red or blue or black or white or right or wrong. Voting's like a firing squad where you can choose the firearm. It's slow extinction by and large. It's Super Tuesday supercharged. It's all your futures, roots and all, just tossed out on a garbage barge. It's everybody dropping out to push the biggest oligarch. It's everybody voting fire, registered as Joan of Arc.